Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, hosted by Aaron Locks and sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. Join us live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as Aaron sits down with coaches, recreation professionals, and industry leaders to discuss youth sports, athlete development, coaching excellence, and the positive impact sports have on young people and communities. Tune in for expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical strategies to help young athletes succeed. In this episode, Youth Sports Mastery explores coaching, confidence, leadership, and helping young athletes love the game.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the special edition of the Youth Sports Mastery Show. My name is Aaron Locks. I'm hosting, and today we're going to kind of flip the script a little bit and have a different conversation. Many of you understand and know or seem to believe that I feel that there's a major problem in youth sports, right? And it gets called out a lot. The goal today with today's show and my special guest that'll be coming in, Kendal Kibanoff, that'll be coming in a couple minutes here, we're going to discuss what's going on in club, what's going on in travel, what's going on in the health of kids, what's going on in the mental side, what's going on with the parents, a little bit of everything across the board. I think it's going to be important today if you are a parent of somebody that's playing, if you are a coach, definitely, or even if you're an administrator in the youth sports space, Parks and Rec, or whatever the case is, or club director, this conversation should be really interesting for you to kind of get a couple different perspectives. And I don't necessarily know if I'm going to agree 100%, but I guess we'll find out when we dive into the conversation. So today we're going to dive in and spend more time focused this specifically on the youth sports, talking about some of the difference between club and some of the difference between rec and which one. Not that there's an answer for everybody, because every child's a little bit different, but we want to dive through the conversation. So let's run those spots. We'll catch up with Kendal on the other side. See you guys in 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs, we're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad we're here. And oh my goodness, Kendal, thank you so much for, quickly jumping in and saying, let's do this, right?
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Kendal, I've got a snapshot of your background. It's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, most of the guests that I get to come on to bring, I've had a relationship and known for long periods of time. And you and I are old buddies now since we met at Trader Joe's on Friday.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's been a minute, but I just so they get it, I'm going to kind of call it out and basically say you want to be a naval nurse. You've coached club. Our coaching club, you're playing collegiately, you played high school, you're from the Bay Area, correct? You're the Bay Area
Correct.
kid?
Born and raised here in the Bay. Yeah.
Born and raised in the Bay. What am I forgetting? Anything that you've got, anything else that I haven't put on that long list of things you're doing?
No, that's pretty much, you got me in a snapshot. Yeah.
Great. Well, I appreciate you wanting us to come on and just have a frank, honest conversation about my interpretation, your interpretation, and what's really going on out there. One of the struggles that I have, and I'll be completely transparent, there's a lot of people that are claiming that youth sports is broken. There's a lot of people that are saying there's a big problem in youth sports. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the whole thing's broken, but part of the system may be. But before we go too far into that and dive into the deep end of the pool with no water in it, I figure let's back up a little bit and learn a little bit about you and why I'm so fired up to have you on the show today. So, so you grew up in the Bay Area. What was little Kendal like? What did you do growing up? What was your upbringing? Yeah.
So I was born in San Leandro. It's right neighboring to Oakland. I grew up in Catholic school, meaning I was a part of the CYO League, which is a Catholic youth organization. So unlike public schools, I played other Catholic schools as well. So we're all in our own league of our own. And it wasn't super competitive. It was more like everyone gets to play a sport. Parents were coaching, parents were reffing. It was more of a family-like environment. So I started off playing sports in second grade. I was officially on a CYO basketball team starting off, but I did have an older sister who introduced me to volleyball. She was 2 years older than me, so definitely started playing sports and was involved in it early on, saying second grade.
Well, 7 years old, you started playing sports, right?
Yes, yeah.
You started in CYO. I'm actually the president of the North Bay Catholic Youth Organization basketball. So yeah, how about that? We have like 2,400 kids playing each season. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay,
CYO was a great way of introducing me to basketball. Yeah, for sure.
Now you played basketball. Were there other sports you played with CYO, or did you play other? Like what else? I heard you had basketball and you had volleyball. What else was in the arsenal? What else did you do?
Those are just my two main sports growing up for the most part. Yeah, okay. I started early on. My hyper focus was basketball, and then I didn't get to start in a CYO volleyball team until fourth grade. But like I said, my older sister played on a CYO team, so I always jumped in on practices. The families were coaching it, so yeah.
So it sounds like an easy. It wasn't like your parents said, "You're 7, it's time you have to start, earning your scholarship," right? No, it was a little bit more of a soft intro, try it out with your friends.
Yes, correct. It was a way to keep me super active, and it was always my choice. I was never like, you have to go to summer camp, you have to do volleyball camp. It was more like, hey, like I want to do this. Yeah.
That's nice. So when you were growing up, way back in the day, right? Were you finding that there are lots of girls and lots of boys that were playing sports, or were you kind of the only one in the area that kind of played?
No, everyone around me, like I said, in CYO, your classes are small. So I think I had about max 25 kids, and every single one of those kids played some sort of sport in CYO. Yeah, some of them would play outside. but it was more majority just in CYO compared to AAU and club. Yeah.
Can you think of, I often think of lessons that we learn when we play youth sports when we're little, you know what I mean? Ones that kind of carry forward. And it's weird. I grew up in the 60s, so that was a thing. But mine was empathy, believe it or not. I learned more empathy playing youth sports than just about anything else. Just to be able to realize, you know, this kid's playing football with us and we can kick his butt, but we want him to play. So we got to find a way to kind of bring him in. And maybe that's leadership too. I don't know. But then on the other hand, I'm playing, when I started playing badminton and they are just whooping my butt, I got a little empathy on the other end of it, right? Was there a lesson you think that maybe you learned when you were growing up?
I definitely think it was the more being raised Catholic had an influence on it. A lot of the times before every game we're praying, but we wanted to follow that gold standard rule, which is treat others the way you want to be treated. So that was the biggest thing, where we carried people up. If we were winning, we're all celebrating. But at the end of the game, there was still that good sportsmanship, because would we want someone who just beat us to kind of rub it in our face, or how would we want them to react to it? So treated them the way we wanted to be treated. So it was more of that teamwork and camaraderie on both ends, regardless if you're on the winning side or the losing side.
I feel like we need more of that, not just in sports, right? Everywhere as we go. You know, it's a funny story about that. I refereed when I was refereeing college. The guy called, his name Jerry Klonsky. Those from the area will know who he is. And he said, hey, I need you to fill in. I need someone to go do a CYO basketball game in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, what? He goes, just go work the game. So I go out there and I'm like, here I am. And I come in the gym and I'm, you know, I don't know, I'll figure it out. Little dudes. And they said a prayer before the game. And I thought it was really nice. And then they went to the sidelines and it was 1, 2, 3, kill him. And I went, what just happened? What the heck? You know, but I guess that's the piece of the puzzle, right? As you navigate through. So if you played a basketball and volleyball and you ended up gravitating more towards volleyball, was it later in life, or did you climb the ladder for a little bit, or how'd that work for you?
Yeah, it was a little bit later. So I played basketball from 2nd to 7th grade, 8th grade-ish. I think when I started playing more competitive travel club volleyball, that's when I started leaning more left towards actually focusing in on volleyball. But yeah, I would definitely say because of actually joining a league outside of CYO, that's where a majority of my bias came into, in choosing volleyball over basketball.
Right, because you had a competitive spirit and it kind of filled that in, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of died out with basketball a bit, but again, I was never forced to play volleyball. It was more of a, what do you feel fulfills you most?
Got it. Yeah. What position did you play?
Everything. I got recruited as a utility all throughout my high school years. I played wherever my coach needed me, and that continued on in college.
Love it. That's awesome. That's great. And I think that you probably learned from your coaches all these different positions as you're going forward, which the utility player, I mean, it's in a magical place because you're not just in one thing. All you have to be is an outside hitter. All you have to be is a middle block, you know, whatever it is, you gained all these other skills across the board. So that's really cool.
Yeah, correct. And with all the coaches and all their pointers, I not only use that for my physical style of play, but I also used it for my coaching style as well. So being able to meet all of these different coaches, I get to take pieces from them and correlate and make them personal to me when I coach these young kids.
I want to dive into that a little bit because I think it's really important. A lot of people are afraid to try coaching, right? And I hear it, and especially because right now 72% of kids play a sport. It's a parent volunteer that's coaching them.
Correct.
Well, right. So if that's the case, what, you know, encouraging them. What made you want to coach?
Yeah, so it was more of a financial need basis. So I actually started coaching around 15 years old. Yeah, so club tuition all fell on me for the most part. I did have help, but this was after my father had passed from cancer. So it was on me to pretty much pay my way through my club tuition. And luckily enough, my director allowed me the chance to kind of work off that tuition through coaching. So I've always been with the younger crowd. Of course, being 15, I was coaching 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12s. But continuing on to college, I also had the responsibility of paying my own tuition as well. So I continued coaching because it was a good way to not only help provide financially for myself, but to also see another perspective of volleyball. So through seeing how the girls were playing, I also not only analyzed their flaws, but I got to turn around and face that mirror to me and look at my flaws and kind of self-coach. Yeah.
I love that. I was asked to coach when I was 15. I was coaching junior high, middle school basketball.
Yeah.
And I remember, it was really cool, actually. I remember the time when I was, like you said, you're coaching stuff, and it reminds you, I got to use that in my game, right?
Yes.
That's part of the piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very cool. But a young coach to be able to do that. So obviously you knew what you're doing, and they trusted you to have an impact there. So I love that. That's great.
Yeah, and it helped because the girls wanted to be there as much as I did. So honestly, every time I go into coach, it never feels like work. I work currently with 10-year-olds as my main team. And right now, of course, as competitive as it is, my main goal as a coach to just make them fall in love with the sport compared to the 18-year-olds I coach, which I'm helping them prep for college, because now that I've experienced what college volleyball looks like, I'm able to help and give them pointers on that aspect. So it's a really large spectrum, because based off of the kids that you're coaching, whether they're 8 or 18, it's a whole psychological difference that you have to meet every kid where they're at.
It sure is. And I'm glad that you said that there is a difference between coaching 18-year-olds and 10-year-olds. And you would think that would just be obvious, but it's not just like I was talking earlier today about, winning is important, but it's not the most important.
Yes.
Right? And you have to find your way navigating through that. So who taught you that? Let's press pause before we go too far ahead, because I think it's important. You're a little bit special. You have a little bit of we'll call you a unicorn about you, because you've played, you've coached, and by the way, we're going to talk about your nursing side in a second. But how did you learn to balance? And it sounds like some of it came from your Catholic upbringing, but to balance the winning, the effort, the development, all of that. How did you learn how to do that?
Yeah, so I kind of had a unique experience in my recruiting, to give you a little bit more background. Since, like you mentioned, I am a nursing student and nursing major, a lot of the schools and coaches kind of pushed me away because they didn't think I could do both. Because I met the athletic standards, but academically they said, it's not going to really work out. We don't know you. You don't know how to balance it. So I ended up sacrificing the competitiveness of an athletic program in order to be in a prestigious academic program. So that's how I ended up here at Dominican, and I decided to play D2. So with that, I took the sacrifice of prioritizing my academics, because I knew I wanted to be a nurse in the future, Navy nurse soon as well. But with that, I actually experienced multiple seasons of only winning one match. So my first season ever here at Dominican, our record was 1-27. It was a season of practicing every day for 3 hours with 15 conference games. Practices were 3 hours long, on top of not only work and coaching, but with what was needed for academics as well. So when you experience loss for that many times, it really forces not only yourself, but a team as a whole to look at your flaws. Because I've talked to East Bay men's volleyball, or men's basketball, sorry. They just had a season of 33-1. I spoke to one of their athletes last week, and I said, hey, how did your Elite 8 go? And he said, Coach didn't do anything, because he was under the impression of, why fix something that's not broken? That was his impression. Rather, on my end, being 1 and basically 33, it was like, okay, how can we try to piece together everything that is already broken? So taking that experience within itself, I viewed that it's less about winning and losing and more about the experience within itself. Being within that loss in the thick of it, it was easy for me to lose sight of why I was really there. My goal was to do academics and athletics, and I had to realize that when I was a little girl in 2nd grade and 4th grade, this is all I wanted to do all along. So I knew I was winning, because at the end of the day, I was experiencing something that I was dreaming about my whole entire athletic career.
But Kendal, there's people out there that are saying you're a club volleyball player. You're a club volleyball coach, you're a collegiate player, and winning was not the ultimate goal. I get it, but I think you're going to have to explain it a little bit because I love it. And I think that's why we kind of connected where it was. But I think people need to hear that a little bit more because it's not how competitive your nature is, right? It's the journey. It's right because you played volleyball and you got your education and it's matched together, right?
Correct. Yeah. A lot of people view winning as a record. They view it as the 33-1, the perfect 15-0 season. But honestly, I stepped away still feeling like a winner, even after going 1-27. It was, like I said, the experience. It was being able to gain lifelong friendships, understand what it's like to figure out my time management. I'm soon to be in the military. It's like I have to figure out these things early on. And through volleyball, I won in taking these lessons that I can use lifelong. So, like I said, more of the experience rather than the record itself that I really take as a win in my books.
And that's not to say you didn't want to win. I remember I coached my daughter's team and we won in 4th grade. And the next year they moved us up to another division, which was too big for us. And we didn't win a game, 0-10. I was able to keep 9 of the 10 players on the team. I said, come on back, let's go one more. The next year at that same division, we were 6-4. And we learned a lot of lessons and we made the playoffs. That was a win, right? And that's what you're talking about. We have to re-educate ourselves and open the window to, it's not just the scoreboard, right? It's winning. I said it today, winning is the best deodorant in some cases, right? But even if you win and you're the 15th player on a 12-man roster, right? Are you winning? You know what I mean? Like, except you're getting that experience. That's what it's about. I wish my daughter could have played volleyball for you because I think it would have been wonderful for her just to have a coach that understood that. So let me ask you then, how do you explain the fact in your mind from the kids you're coaching that are 10-year-old? Do you have the opportunity to really break it down to them and say, hey, or are you saying, nope, this is what we're trying to do? And this is a tougher question. Are you allowing those 10-year-olds like you got to play other sports, or do they need to play volleyball year round at 10 years old?
Yeah. So I was actually given a piece of advice from one of my parents. They said the amount of seconds a kid's attention span is based off of their age. So since I coach 10-year-olds, I try to say things very stern and very straight to the point in a matter of 10 seconds. And within those 10 seconds, it's like, hey, what are our goals? Before every practice, I let the girls choose their own goals. It's not like, let's win. Their goals are communication, teamwork, being supportive teammates. So it's less of the, like I said, the winning aspect and more of that team camaraderie that they come up with on their own. So I can only say so much as a coach, but it's a matter of them bringing it to the table where we can work hand in hand together.
I love that. And you know, the interesting thing that I love, if you're a young coach out there, the more you can ingratiate and bring the kids into the process of selecting the goals, the better chance you've got of them being engaged and buying into what you're selling, right?
Exactly, yes. And we write them down on the board, and before every water break, we check in. I'm like, hey, how do we feel about our goals? Can we be here? Can we raise our goals a little higher? Where's our level of play? We're dipping down. Let's go back up and let's stay like static. Let's stay level-headed because, you know, kids, they're fluctuating in their emotions because they have yet to develop any emotional regulation early on, which is totally understandable. I was just like that when I was 10, 11, 12, for sure. So it's a matter of them being able to have a sense of control that, like you said, allows them to be more engaged and more bought in with the goals that they put out for themselves.
Love it. My daughter's team, when we started basketball, I literally had 15 girls, and my daughter's the only one that had played basketball before at all. Mm-hmm. And so we went out there and I set goals like how many shots we're going to get per quarter. Now, how many we're going to make or how many points we're going to score just to get a shot up. Mm-hmm. How many and we were literally with the board on the sideline, you know, hey, we got 10 shots. It was crazy because sometimes we go over the backboard and we're cheering because we got the shot up, but it got them with the ability and willingness to take the shot. You know what I mean? Go out there and do that. That's what you want, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And this past weekend, it was my girls' first major qualifier. So we were in Reno with over 100 teams from all over the nation. And my girls are 10s. There's not many 10s teams out there. So we played up a division in 11s. So I told the girls, go out there, just give it all you got. the wins and losses don't matter. And through that, then being able to, again, go back on those goals they created, we ended up placing third in 11s
There you
as the
go.
youngest team at the tournament. And it was
Love
all on them. I as a coach, all I can say is that it's all them for sure.
Well, what's great, the good news about coaching and parenting, whatever it is, it's amazing how much can be accomplished when no one cares who gets the credit, right? If you're just putting it out there and you're giving a foundation for that, then the rest just kind of take care of itself. And it's not about, look at me, it's not about embarrassing, whatever. I wonder though, again, I got to get back to this because, some club sports, they're getting a bad name, right? And the reality is they get the bad name because they're pushing kids to either specialize year round. They're pushing kids to only play in that one single sport, right? So where do you land on that? I'm curious, as somebody that's been through it, because you played multiple sports when you were younger, and then you kind of leaned in and you found your lane. I played multiple sports until later in high school because I found my lane, which is like, okay, that's one I feel the best at. How about you?
Correct. Yeah. So with the kids being all pretty much local in Marin, they asked me about what Dominican also offers. So I think Dominican does a great job with this. They offer summer camps that a lot of the student athletes actually coach at. And these sports are everything. They play anywhere from soccer, swim, they play lacrosse, they play volleyball, basketball, all throughout the summer. So I honestly am able as a coach to have that power to advertise that, not only about the summer camps and volleyball camps that I offer, but I'm able to offer them the resource that Dominican has as well here in Marin.
That's great. Yeah, giving kids, they say it right now, the hot topic is sports sampling. If your child doesn't really know what they love yet, don't force them into one. Better out is to go ahead and roll them out, let them try multi-sport, all sport, or sport sampling, like you said, so they can try different sports. At the National Academy of Athletics, we've got camps in Mill Valley and Corte Madera and San Anselmo, Santa Fe, and Novato and Marinwood and Petaluma, all over the Marin area. And the kids can try pickleball or they can try dodgeball, different things. And I think it's such a great way to use their body as an all-terrain vehicle and have fun and make new friends right across the board. But let me ask you, I'm going to ask one more time on this. I'm going to try to get away. Do you tell your kids at 10, does somebody in your organization say, hey, we want you to play volleyball year round? Or it sounds like you're encouraging them to try everything, but what's the philosophy? What's the mentality around that?
Yeah, overall, we give kids the ultimate ability to make their own choices, for sure. My director is heavy on wanting our kids to be able to not only excel on the court, but every aspect else in their life. So it's not like our director is shoving volleyball down their throat. It's never like that. Like when we do check-ins, majority of our kids are multi-sport athletes. Starting from 10s, we do check-ins. I'm like, hey, like with that, besides the goals, I'm like, hey, what did you guys do? Oh, I just had a softball game. Oh, I have a lacrosse tournament. Oh, I'm swimming. And these are things that are actually enjoyed and we actually uplift them to do because like you said, having the kids be able to do multiple sports except for one, you can really see the kids who are athletes and the ones who just strictly stay with volleyball. Yeah. And later on, we can also see the girls who are 17s who play both basketball and volleyball. You can see how their body mechanics are, how they move on the court, and a lot of them are really natural leaders as well. Yeah.
I love that. And, it's funny too, because you develop different muscle groups, different flexibilities. Correct. And, some sports kind of naturally, people don't realize lacrosse and basketball are very similar.
Really?
How you move, screening, pick and roll, body movements.
Okay. I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Where soccer kind of plays. So it's really good when you see I'm really mad that in California, they've aligned girls basketball and soccer the same season because that really lets those kids, it forces them to choose one at such a young age. By the time they're 12 or 13, rather than being able to play a little bit of everything. So that's tough.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I have a 14-year-old that I coach right now who's about to go into high school. She came to me and is like, hey, I just got on the USA lacrosse team. I'm not sure how I'm going to do with club or with lacrosse. And I said, what makes you happier? Like, this is something completely, of course, I would love for you to stay with our club, but ultimately with what you want to do and what you're going to excel in, I'm happy regardless if you stay or not.
Love that. That's the Parks and Rec mentality, which is the number one goal is always safety, right? And number
Correct.
two is they have so much fun and they're learning that they want to keep playing, no matter what it is, whatever sport, keep playing across the board. Did you have any experience with Parks and Rec when you were little in terms of camps or things like that? Or where did you go to camps when you were younger?
I did more just like CYO camps. That was really it. It was like the basketball, the volleyball. But I was a kid who grew up playing outside for sure. I had neighbors. We were all playing outside all the time. We had a basketball hoop in my front yard. I had a swimming pool in the back. So I was always one of those kids who were super active with the kids all around me.
I know I did a post the other day that people were laughing at because I'm like, go outside and play it used to be a thing.
Yeah.
Now, right. Isn't that what kids need to do is just to play. And the more that they can have fun playing the sport, because it's supposed to be a game, the more they'll fall in love and want to use their body and kind of progress and go forward from there. So we're running up against the break here, but I got a question for you. The main reason that you have been so impactful for the kids that you're coaching in your mind, what is that?
I picture what it's like to be a 10-year-old girl again. I get to put myself in their shoes and remember what it's like to sort of navigate through life at that time. And of course, even after 8-hour days of school, these kids are full of energy. So It's not necessarily about how to pass a ball or how to set a ball. It's more of a, let's enjoy this together. It goes by fast, and I just want them to be in the moment, remember where their shoes are, and it's really up to them. It's really up to them. So I give them as much authority as they can. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of differences, some of the influences that the coaches that coached you. I also want to talk a little bit about the fact that you're going to be becoming a nurse and what that's going to look like, because I want to talk a little bit about repetitive sports injury and some of the ideas and challenges that are coming up. So let's take the break, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Perfect.
See you in a minute. Thanks for staying with us, Kendal.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't start with a big studio. It didn't start with a massive audience. It started with a simple idea. One conversation, one camera, one episode. Back then, DPRS Media Network was just a vision. No guarantees, no roadmap, just a purpose. To tell stories that mattered. Stories from the Parks and Recreation community. Stories of leadership, passion, impact, and the people making a difference every single day. Episode by episode, that vision began to grow. More conversations, more voices, more people who believed in what we were building. What started as a show became something much bigger. A place where people felt seen, a place where ideas were shared, a place where the Parks and Rec community could connect, learn, and inspire one another. And today, we celebrate a major milestone. 500 episodes, 500 stories, 500 moments, 500 reasons to keep moving forward. But this is not the finish line. This is the beginning of our next chapter. In the months ahead and in the years to come, DPRS Media Network is growing into something even greater. We are building something truly special for the Parks and Recreation community. Something designed to bring people closer, to create stronger connections, to open new opportunities, and to continue serving the people who inspire everything we do. We are also expanding our reach through new partnerships, working with organizations who believe in our mission, partners who share our vision for community, leadership, and impact. And beyond the screen, we're showing up in more places than ever before, attending conferences, meeting leaders face-to-face, building connections that strengthen our community. Because DPRS has never been just about content. It has always been about connection. To everyone who has been with us, from episode 1 to episode 500, thank you. This milestone belongs to all of you. Here's to how it all started. And here's to everything still to come. The future of DPRS Media Network starts now.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Youth Sports Mastery Show here with Kendal. Kendal, I am so, all these thoughts go in my mind. I'm running all over the place, and I got to stay focused. Otherwise, we're going to run out of time here. But I got to say, I love your mentality and the way you're approaching things. And I think it's a little bit of a unicorn in the sense that I just wonder, because I remember when I competed, there was that balance point that I think you're right. We learned as kids. Whereas that winning was important, but it wasn't the most important, right? And to lose with grace. And even it wasn't like we were forced to go shake the other team's hands. We did that. And I remember playing against kids that, I grew up in Marin County. So I played at Mount Carmel and Mill Valley, and I played at Tam High School, Mill Valley Middle School in the area, and lots of sports. And you see all these different kids, and it was like it was your buddy on the other team, right? And you were trying to beat them. And then later, you guys would go get a soda together and laugh about it, right?
Yeah.
Thing, right?
Yes. Yeah, correct. I even ended up after CYO being classmates and on the same high school teams as these people. So
right. So there you go. Exactly. So let me ask you a question. I think, I've got some friends that are very heavy in the women's space in sports, right? There's some really good coaching her, some really good organizations. Give me a little bit. I've always heard, and I know they say that the top 98% of C-suite women compete in a sport through the age of 16. They understand those components. But what's that been like for you? And what is your thought on that? I know that's not your initial intent, but I think there's so much to be learned from it. But give me a little bit of that, because you're coaching girls, and you said it. I don't know what it's like to be a 10-year-old girl. You know what I mean? I had a 10-year-old daughter, and I still didn't know what it's like to be a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah, correct. So I was actually raised with male coaches majority of the time. So there is obviously a little bit of a disconnect there, because I'll never know what it's like to be a male coach, and a male coach will never know what it's like to be me. So being able to be a female coach to younger girls, I feel more of a connect with them than I ever did as a personal player to a male coach. But nonetheless, I have learned a lot about my personal coaching style through male coaches and positive male figures in my life. But now that I'm in a club that is more female predominant, it's very empowering. These girls can feel comfortable not only coming to me, but my fellow female colleagues about things that a male coach would never understand. So it feels like a big supportive environment where the girls, like I said, are comfortable coming to me, and I feel comfortable going to my colleagues as well. So it's just like one big Barbie movie. It's wonderful. I love it so much. And it honestly helps that our club colors are also pink. It's beautiful. I love it.
It doesn't hurt. Katie, right? I think she was involved. So, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I've known Katie since she was in Roanoke Park about 30 years ago. Crazy.
Yeah, Katie is amazing. And that's another thing. We changed from a male director to a female director. But again, the culture never changed, because even with our males there that are coaching with us at Absolute, it's just as empowering to the girls, because the focus isn't on us. The focus is on the development of the young females in this athletic world.
A great coach can create positive change without causing resentment, right?
Agreed.
And I found watching the girls that get to play for a woman and have the female role model that understands, like you said, all those things I don't want to know about, or how to deal with it, or emotions, or whatever the heck it is. I think we need more moms out there coaching. We need people like you out there coaching. It's funny. We did a thing today. I think 64% of my coaches at the National Catholic Athletics are females.
That's amazing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And with my experience here at Dominican, because we had multiple losing seasons, they were all led by male coaches. And I thought, of course, on the skill aspect, there's a lot of things that could have been improved, but more on that psych aspect, I definitely think that a female coach could have helped us a lot as young women in a transformational time of our lives. We're all from 18 to 21. This is a huge transformational period of a female's life. Yeah. And even on top of that, our physical trainers are all male as well. So I definitely think, like, even though our AD was a female, I think that more of the connection between the coaches and our PTs would have been a lot more meaningful to us developmentally.
They're going to ask you to stay on Dominican. Watch out. I know you got to
Yeah.
go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm already enlisted. I'm out of here. Right? Yeah. Okay. That would be a heck of an argument. Okay. Question for you. So as you're talking about that, I want to shift a little bit to the mental, the physical side of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So let's talk about the mental. So I was traveling, giving talks across the country prior to the pandemic, and then after it got a lot. And we talked a lot. There's a lot of studies that show that a child between 3rd and 8th grade that went through the pandemic, it could take 3 years to academically catch up from the pandemic time. Okay. But here's the crazy and sad part. It could take up to 8 years to catch up socially and emotionally. And yet they said those kids that were on a team sport, it would go right back down to the 3 years. And I think it has a lot to do with what we've talked about. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can definitely agree because during the pandemic, I was in high school by then, but my little brother was only in 6th to 8th grade. Yeah, he was around that time. Okay. Socially, of course, it was awkward going back into it. I witnessed him do that. Like, I had already established my friends in high school, but his transitional time from 8th grade to freshman year of high school was a little awkward for him. I helped him make majority of his friends, and I did see kind of that delay a little bit, but I saw more of it pick up and him become more socially inept when he was a part of football and volleyball. He tried out those sports, and that made his transition into the following years of high school be a lot more easier for him. Right. So I definitely can agree with where you're coming from and the statistics following that.
You know, my daughter, as she's going into high school, a lot of friends that were not playing sports, their parents were freaked out. Their kids going to high school. And my daughter, who played soccer and volleyball and cheerleading and basketball, she knew everybody. So it was just like she's just going to hang out with her friends at a bigger campus, you know. And I saw it firsthand that it's so important, especially on the girls' side. My son's confident all the time, but my daughter, to be able to go through that, it was really impactful for her. So one thing that's the mental side of things, how do you coach the mental side of things with the girls you're dealing with? Because 10-year-old girls, 12-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls, 12-year-old boys, 15, whatever the age is, there's this thing. And I know that a lot of people are talking about the mental challenges that our youth are going through. And I think there's no better life skill teaching tool than youth sports to help them be successful, not just on the court, but in the real competition, which is life, right?
Correct. Yes. And us coaches, we are also coached as well. So Katie loves to put together kind of like a coaching workshop for coaches. So I remember going to this one with one of the Stanford assistant coaches, and he asked us a question: why are we coaching kids like they're kids? Why should we change kind of like our coaching aspect because they're 10 instead of 18? So with that, a big philosophy that our club carries is we're going to coach little kids as big kids. We're going to have them less of the, like, yay aspect. We're going to allow them and treat them like they are grown because it's athletics. When somebody falls down and gets hurt, us coaches, obviously, we're going to check if they're okay. But if their parent comes running and trying to get them, we allow the space for the girl to feel what they have to feel in order to get through it by themselves. Because like we said in life, that's the bigger aspect. As much as we would love to run to our mom or dad in a lot of aspects, we're not going to be able to do so. Right. So allowing kids to learn how to fall back on themselves is a huge thing that we want them to take from on the court to off the court.
I got to tell you a story, and a couple people heard this before. My daughter's playing softball, and she was eight years old, and she played in a 9-year-old league. I didn't care what division, but I knew she was there and playing with the bigger kids. She was playing third base. It was her first game. First of all, third base, like, oh, that's like the spot. Mm-hmm. The ball, one hop, this big kid hit it. One hop hit her right in the thigh and knocked her to the ground. her mom went to get out of the stands. Accidentally, I swear it was accidentally, I grabbed her hoodie in the back of the hood and yanked her, and she sat back down. Oh my gosh.
No, I totally get it. One of my girls accidentally got hit in the face with a volleyball, and she was crying. And the mom immediately gets up and starts running, and I'm like, hey, go sit back down. And I went and I consoled the girl. I was like, hey, go in the corner, figure it out. Once you get a breath, jump back in. And with that, in less than a minute, she was back in the drill, tears dried up, ready to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting because I feel like if we parents, this is a good lesson for us. If we parents step in, we're taking away that opportunity for our child to learn that they can. My daughter, I remember she was laying down. The coach walked up, and she was literally like with her knees on the ground, hand here, and she put her hand, didn't look at coach, but just waved him off. And she got up, she had tears in her eyes, and she played the rest of that inning. And the strength for her to have that, if we'd have taken that opportunity away from her, right, she never would have had a chance to learn that she's more powerful than she thought. Huh?
Correct. Yeah. And even here in nursing, we learn all the different psychological development studies with Erickson, Pavlov, all of the actual like theories that are tried and true. And that's another thing that comes in with my coaching style is that I learned all these developmental stages and how kids are reactive to certain things. So with my studying of nursing background, I'm also able to know when and when not to step in as a coach. So, and that within itself, learning the mental health and the emotional regulation development of kids, these are moments, like you said, are so extremely valuable to not only the physical development of a child, but the emotional and mental development.
So you mentioned your coaching style. I was blessed. I learned from Coach John Wooden. So I got a coaching style from him. And then I worked for Pat Riley, and of course I gelled my hair back and I did that. So I learned from some of the best. But what would you say, because I love your coaching style, like I want you to help us teach more coaches. Kids are important, but I feel like if you impact 10 kids, that's great. But if you can impact 100 coaches, now you're impacting 1,000 kids, right? So I'm going to be coming for you on that one. But okay, but let's talk about your coaching style. What would you see, because you focused on the athletes, on the whole kid, right? You've talked about that a little bit. What would you say? So if someone's out there learning how to coach and you're coaching club, but let's be honest, you got 10 players and some of them are not as good as others and some of them are more dedicated than others. Some are more athletic than others, right? You don't just have one super team at 10 years old, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I view each of my athletes as just an equal as a human as I am. So being 12, like I mentioned earlier, my dad was diagnosed with stage 3 stomach cancer. And in that time, I viewed volleyball as my escape, as my coping mechanism, something to get my mind off of everything that I couldn't control. So all of my teammates didn't really have a clue kind of what was going on with me. So after he had passed away, I took that lesson as not only a player, but as a coach, that every kid comes to practice with a different background and different reasoning. And like I mentioned also is that I want my kids to be reminded of where their feet are. I don't want them to have to think about anything outside, but I also want them to understand that I'm going to meet them where they're at. And I'm always going to have that empathetic self of everyone may be going through something the same way I was going through before. So how can I make this experience good for both of us? So yeah, it's just, you never know what someone is going through. And it's just, how can you be your best self, even if you may not have 100% in the tank?
Yeah, I know that feeling. I'm sorry you had to go through that. That sounded like it was a real challenge. And yet you found a way to thrive through it. And I love the fact, again, that sports, it's to me, sports builds the village. You know what I mean? And the village builds the character. Some people say that sports don't build character, they reveal it or lack thereof. I kind of disagree with that, because I think you can be on a team and not be really that. And then you can work with it and learn through the hard ways. And
I can agree with that as well. Yes, for sure, 100%.
So what's been the biggest challenge that you've had coaching? Because my guess is you're probably pretty hard on yourself when it comes to your playing. So how did you go from being hard on yourself and holding yourself? What do they say? What you permit, you promote, right? So you're going to set your goals at here, but these might have different levels. So what's been the biggest challenge with you in coaching young girls, coaching athletes?
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely say that I like to keep a very professional manner for sure. Even though I may be similar and very close to these girls these age, I will forever be their fan and not their friend. So there's boundaries that I like to set as a coach. There's different aspects where I like will nip it right away and I let them know these are my boundaries and you're not going to cross them. And that's respect.
I'd like to cut you off, but I want you to say it again. You want to be their fan, but not their friend.
Yes.
Explain a little bit, because I think that's there's a very important distinction there that parents can learn from as well. So give me a little more on that.
Yeah. So my background is that I had coaches previously that were not the most professional. They were definitely people who like to push boundaries that I experienced both in high school and in college. And these were the type of people who wanted to be in our shoes. They wanted to be a teenager again. They wanted to be a high school or a college student again, rather than look at the kids and develop them. It was very odd. The lines were blurry. A lot of things were crossed. So when I say like fan and not friend, is that I'm going to fully support you in anything that you do. Similar to the girl who wanted to choose between volleyball and lacrosse. I am going to say that I'm there to support you and cheer you on no matter what, but I'm not going to tell you like a friend would, like do this or do that. So it's a very clear distinction that you can come to me, but there's still that boundary between us both where there's no lack of professionalism.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Wow.
Yeah.
No, and I think there's something in the parent component of that if I'm a parent and I can just be the fan and just let the coach be the coach and kind of go forward from there. So let's talk about
Yes, that is a huge thing for sure. I have a specific like instance that this has continuously happened all season. The mom had played volleyball before and her daughter is just getting into it. And the daughter, every time she seems to make a mistake, looks to her mom a lot. And the mom just has this disappointed coaching face. And it's just like, hey, what? She already has me as a coach. She already has my co-coach on her.
Yeah.
I want her to look at her mom as more of someone who's there to support her rather than someone she has to prove herself to on the same level as us. Moms are very, again, that nature nurture aspect. So it's less of the competitive nature and more of the comforting nurture after a loss. Because she'll hear it enough from us, like, hey, you could have done this in the game, you could have done that for your teammates. And why would you continue that and go home with it as well? It's almost like you have a teacher or professor who's giving you homework. Why would you want your parent to give you more homework at the end of the day? Another workbook.
I've got a good friend of mine, VJ Stanley, that talks a lot about the ride home and how important that is. And that's where more kids quit sports because of the ride home than almost anything else.
Yeah,
right?
That is very, very true. I can agree.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if you've got I've always been a believer that criticism without compassion is nothing but cruelty. If you're a coach, you have to have compassion when you're making adjustments. Now, we at the National Academy of Athletics use talk, teach, play, 3 minutes of verbal instruction, 6 minutes of skill development with directions and corrections, and then 6 minutes of play. To your point, they got short attention spans. So in 15 minutes, they get to understand it, they get to practice it, they get to play. Next thing, let's go, right? And keep it going. Yes. What's your philosophy on that in terms of how you are teaching them so that they stay engaged in their learning, but they're also enjoying the process?
Yeah, so I'm able to relate to them. When they're doing a certain movement, I'm like, yeah, that may feel comfortable, but you're going to get this result instead of this result. So rather than doing something you're comfortable with, let's go back to the blueprint and textbook of things. Let's try this method so you can get this result instead, even though it may feel a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm able to pretty much validate what they're doing because it's their body. They know what it's like to hit a ball, even though it may not be correct. But again, when they see that I see them, they're going to be more, again, engaged with what I'm going to tell them in that short amount of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember a guy named Cap Lavin. I was at down in Marin County, and he taught me how to shoot a ball. And I could shoot, but I was shooting two-handed. And it was fourth grade. He goes, well, you can do that and you'll be okay. But if you want to be great, you need to do this. And I just loved his mentality, which you're more than welcome to do that. I can't force you to change. but try this. And I worked out with him for a while. And next thing you know, I actually I could do this. So that's really good. And giving them the option, because it is their option, right?
Yes, correct. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like you're meeting a kid where they're at. You're not gonna push pull. You both are bringing yourselves to that table, and if they want to take what you give them, they can. It's almost like that saying where it's like you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink. Right. So it's like, okay, hey, I get where you're at. I'm welcoming where you're at, but if you want to take this in order to move forward, that's on you. I'm not going to force you. It's completely your choice and autonomy to do.
You are going to make an amazing nurse. I can't wait to see that.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about this, Nurse Kendal. So repetitive sports injuries are becoming a thing.
Correct.
Right. And so, Major League Baseball says Tommy John surgeries in the last 10 years are up 680%. Because kids aren't getting a break and they're throwing the ball too much, or they're pitching 105 innings when they should be pitching 40 innings or across the board. So talk a little bit about the mechanics, the importance of the fundamentals so that you're not wrecking your body, right? Flexibility, warm up, all of that, and your mindset on that. Because, we'll go to you, right? Go to the best. What do you got?
So it's early, again, to establish structure early on with kids. A lot of them, when they know what they need to do when they come to practice, it's less work on you as a coach also. Again, it's a thing that goes both ways. So we have on the wall, what Katie had implemented was warm-ups. So the girls immediately were like, all right, break, play, and they all go to the line with their ball, and it's all self-led. They have certain stretches they do, they have ball control that they do, and then they have partner warm-ups. And these are things that are established early on, even though they're kids and their joints may not be as cracky and eeky as ours, they're still able to understand the importance of warming up before actually getting into the fun stuff. Even though it's the boring stuff, it's like, how can I read a book if I don't know how to read my ABCs? So it's like one of those things where it's not only with the kids that are doing that are at 10s, it goes from 10s to 12s to 14s, 18s, 16s. We all have the same exact warm up that the girls do before practice.
I love that. We at the National Academy of Athletics, we use RSBQ, rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness. And it's the same warm-up, whether you're going to dodgeball camp, volleyball camp, basketball camp, baseball camp. It's the same body warm-up and the same concept. I love the fact that you're allowing the kids to do it on their own. You might nudge them a little here and there if they're goofing around, but ultimately you kind of want them to have that free-flowing, but the individual accountability to warm themselves up as well, because that's how they learn. And I love Katie, you give her a hug for me, but the fact that it from littles to bigs, they're doing the same thing, because then it became routine and ritual, and that's so important in sports, right?
Yeah, and it also helps with the culture of the club itself. Instead of seeing each team as individuals, we see the club as a whole family. And I'll be coaching my 10-year-olds, and some of the 14s that I coach will actually come in early and help run our practices as well. And it's just so sweet seeing how the little girls look up to the bigger girls. And then even at national tournaments where they're both there at the same time, seeing the big girls cheer on the little girls and then the little girls cheer on the big girls.
That's the village that I think is really hard for people, as a parent, going and watching my kids play sports, whether I was coaching or not. Those families are the village. And I still have friends of those families, and my son is 24, my daughter's 22, and I'm still, hey, coach, and what's going on? And that relationship is probably pretty special for you too.
For sure. And the parents, I started coaching at Absolute at 18, and I was actually given my own team to head coach by myself. Wow. So I was just 18. I was with a 12U group, and none of these girls had ever touched a volleyball. And a lot of these parents were brand new to club. Some of them had older daughters who had played before, which was a saving grace on my aspect, but it was definitely a learning curve. There was a lot of growing pains, but because they bought in and I bought in, that village within itself helped us build that community. And I see them early on. Now that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and now I see them playing 14s and 15s, and it's all just a family always.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So I like to leave with if you were the sports czar, the queen of sports, what's one thing you think that you'd like to see either implemented, reinforced, or across the board in youth sports?
Just the ability to lead. That's a huge thing. A lot of kids, especially now, have the fear of judgment. They think that, oh, my peers are going to look at me differently if I decide to be the first to volunteer. If I'm the first to demonstrate the demo, I'm afraid of messing up. What is my mom, what is my dad going to think of me? What is my coach going to think of me? And one thing, again, if I was just the top of sports, I would just want the kids to jump in because, like I said, the true winning comes from experience. And how can you really learn something if you don't do it?
That's right.
So,
That's good for sure.
jump in. Yeah.
I know that you're on LinkedIn. If people want to catch up with you and find more information, is there anywhere else that you want, if people want to find a little bit more about Pick Your Brain or anything like that? Is LinkedIn the best place for them to catch you?
LinkedIn would be the best place. Yeah.
I appreciate your insights. I wish you the best in your coaching career. Thank you for your service and diving in as a naval nurse. We're blessed to have people like you out there across the board. I'm telling parents again, this conversation today, particularly with a club coach, it's not that all club are bad. What I'm telling you is to make sure whether you're going to camps or clinics or club or travel, whatever, make sure you know who's going to coach your child. Make sure you know everything about it. Make sure you know the level of a commitment, and make sure you check with your child that that's really what they want to do. Because I'm telling you right now, you force your kid into doing something, they got 2 seasons and then they're done.
Very, very true. Yeah, but I really want to appreciate and thank you for having me on. It was definitely a blessing that I was waiting for my smoothie and you just happened to need to go to Trader Joe's. So I'm very glad that we crossed paths, and I will definitely tell Katie you said hello.
Good. Better lucky than good. Everybody, we'll see you on Thursday. I got another special guest coming in. Remind the kids that you're out there, remind you out there to play hard and have fun. We'll see you down the road. Thanks again.
I'm going to coach the kids right now. All righty. Thank you so much.
Take care.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network, built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention. Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move parks and rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.